Alejandría Alverez, Shadows and Desire. Scene 1. The Invite. The thing about love is this: when you let yourself fall completely, you lose control. Body, breath, heartbeat, traitors. It's a drug you crave, even as it destroys you. My philosophy? Simple. Don't fall for love. It's an easy enough wish and mantra, but sitting in this hole, in the wall coffee shop with my ever-brilliant brother and his girlfriend, I realized that the only way to guard my heart is to stay away from dangerous places where love seems to inhabit and entrap you as soon as you step a toe inside. So now I need to attend their wedding and have to look, as my dearly beloved brother puts it, presentable. What the fuck is presentable, Ian? I hissed at his remark. Last time I checked, I'm not auditioning for a fashion show. You can be, he pauses for dramatic effect, eccentric, he finishes with rolled eyes. They both nod in agreement, and I look between them. What's wrong with eccentric? The frustration is palpable in my voice. Anya laughs and reaches out to take my hand. They laugh, both nodding. And there I sit, combat boots, black leather jacket, hair in a messy ponytail, looking like I just walked out of a covert op. Which, technically, I had. I've been MI6 for 20 years. A shadow in the field. A ghost climbing ranks until command finally let me run my own team. But off-duty? I'm just a sister, sitting across from my brother and the love of his life. And God help me, I am proud of them. Ian survived the same hellfire that killed our parents. Now he's a business analyst with a future. Anya's an architect, a dreamer with steel in her bones. They're light in a life that's been mostly shadows. Anya, softly, you know I love you very much, Lex, but I am in full agreement with Ian. And J.A., giggling, and you're attending a wedding. And might I remind you it's our wedding, an occasion that deserves some effort, Lex. LEX, rolling her eyes, effort? You mean the kind of effort that leaves me vulnerable to all those smug couples staring at me like I'm some kind of cautionary tale? IN, cautionary tale? You're just being dramatic. After our parents were killed in a terrorist attack on London 30 years ago, I have been taking care of him and still tried to keep myself together. Looking at him and Anya, I am truly proud of the man he has become. He is a top business analyst at the London Stock Exchange, and Anya is an architect for the city. I sigh deeply and take a sip of my coffee before I answer them. Lex, sighing. Fine. Anya gets 1 day. 1 day only. You may drag me to shopping hell. Anya beams like she's just been handed the keys to the kingdom. And I am already regretting it. A crooked smile appears on my lips as I watch her face transform into pure unadulterated joy. I might have just given the power of my choice of clothing to the most dangerous female socialite I know. I groan audibly into my hands audibly as she launches animatedly into what sounds like a complete makeover. Lex, groaning. Oh God. What have I done? Ian, laughing, squeezes my hand. Good luck, sis. Later, back at my flat, I step out onto the balcony. London's not Paris, but summer light still catches the rooftops like fire. My phone buzzes. Unknown number. I answer without hesitation. Lex, brisk, professional. Lex speaking. Work. Always work. The reminder that soon, the shadows will call me back. Scene 2. The shopping experience. Morning in London. The city thrives. I'd rather be anywhere else. Anya's already called me twice. I should have ignored her. Should have gone back to the field where bullets don't demand high heels. Lex, flat, muttering. She puts me in a ball gown, I swear. But Anya's smile disarms me faster than any weapon ever could. She's already got outfits lined up, grinning like the devil's apprentice. Dress after dress. Midnight blue. Emerald silk. Each one draped over me like a stranger's skin. I stand before the mirror, stiff, suspicious, sipping coffee like it's whiskey. Then, I turned around to see the lady walking towards us with a dress and a bag. This is mysterious and scary. Anya is practically bouncing as the lady hangs the bag on the rails. Dios mío, I am too afraid to look. I tell her. She unzips it and I froze. The dress, my mother's. Altered. Restored. Sapphire fabric, low back, shoulders strong, flowing down like a river of memory. My throat clenched. My hand shook. This was the last dress my mother had on the evening that I got accepted into MI6. Lex, whispering, breaking. Anya. I slipped it on. And for the first time in 20 years, I saw not just me in the mirror, but her. My mother. Her courage. Her grace. Anya, teary, whispering. You look breathtaking. A tear slid down her cheek. One slid down mine. My lips curved, crooked, reluctant. Anya pressed her hand to my arm. I let her. Lex, low, fragile. Thank you. Anya, jokingly. Stop turning world. Alejandría Alverez is smiling and approving. I nudge her gently with my shoulder and smile shyly. I'm not that bad. I tried to defend, but I know I've lost this one. Days passed in a blur. And then the wedding arrived. The dress hugged me like destiny. Breathe, Hermanito Chico. I whisper and move to stand next to him. I am standing today as his witness and in the place of our parents. Then the music shifts and the doors swing open. Anya walks down the aisle, and I catch Ian next to me. His breath catches and his hands are shaking. I place my hand on the shoulder and steadies him. The church was full of light, of vows, of laughter. My brother looked at Anya like the sun itself had promised him forever. And for a moment, I almost believed love could be safe. But outside, in the garden, love turned dangerous. A voice as soft, melodic, slipped through the shadows. Mystery woman, gentle, curious. It's beautiful out here. But even more so inside. Auburn hair, emerald gray eyes, midnight blue dress clinging like sin. My heart betrayed me. My voice faltered. Lex, trembling, idiotic. Yes, beautiful. Idiot, Lex, idiot. Is that the best you could come up with? I scold myself inwardly. Mystery woman. You're Lex. Ian's sister. Her lips curved with a secret. And before I could demand answers, the crowd spilled from the venue. I turned back, she was gone. Lex, low, shaken. Who are you, mystery woman? Later, an email hit my inbox. An old contact. Surveillance images from 30 years ago. The night of the explosion that killed our parents. The woman in the photo. The shadow near the blast site. The same auburn hair. The same face I'd just kissed with my eyes in the garden. Lex, furious, whispering. What the fuck did I just walk into? I rub my eyes and feel the stress building up. I need to leave tonight for my assignment, but I also know that she is in town. I can call Ian and ask him about her, but I don't want to stress him out on his honeymoon. I remember, weeks ago he sent me the list for the guests. But all I will have is a list of people and not specifics. I will be back in London in 3 weeks, and then I will speak to Ian. I step onto the private plane, but my mind has not stopped reeling since that email. I find my seat and open my laptop. For now, I will focus on my assignment. I cannot afford distractions. Distractions costs lives. Pushing the image to the back of my mind, I start preparing. 3 weeks later, I return to London. First call I make is to Ian. He welcomed me back, and I asked if we could meet. He agrees, and I end the call with the promise to see him later that evening. Ian and Anya's apartment is in the business district of London. The company he worked for bought the building and leases out the apartments to their employees. Close to work and affordable housing. I ring the doorbell and wait. I can hear the shuffle inside, and then the doors swing open. Ian stands there, broad smile on his face. Lex, come in. Anya is getting done in the kitchen. He hugs me, and I follow him to the kitchen. Anya was standing at the counter, pouring wine in glasses. She steps around the counter, hugged and kissed my cheek, and then hand me the glass. We move to the small sitting area, and they animatedly tell me about their honeymoon. I can see the smiles on their faces and smile softly. Then Ian turns to me, and I realize this is the moment that the dread will take over. You mentioned something about one of my colleagues, he asks, looking at me curious. Yes, there was a woman, auburn hair. Anya interrupts and excuses herself, saying she needs to check on the pasta. She kisses Ian on the cheek and disappears into the kitchen. Ian turns to me, and on his face is questions. I take out my phone and show him the report. His face changes from shock to anger to hurt. Then he hands me the phone back and stands up. He walks to the window and stands still for a long time before he answers. That is Lizine Gregorian. Gregorian, That's Armenian, my brow frowns. He turns and then sits down on the couch again, before he continues. Yes, she is the daughter of one of our biggest clients and my account at the firm. I've been working with her for 6 months. I can see his shoulders slump. I reach out and place my hand on his arm. He turns to look at me and his eyes reflects the turmoil in me. I will call and try and set up a meeting. He starts, but I cut him off. No, I don't want her to be spooked. I will come to your offices tomorrow, pretending to bring you lunch. You can introduce her and I will take it from there. He nods and then we hear Anya call that the food is ready. The rest of the evening, we both try and act normal around Anya. He will speak to her later when I leave, but for now, we enjoy the evening. It's past 10 when I left their apartment and drove back home. Tomorrow I will find out if Lizine Gregorian is a suspect or just someone at the wrong place at the wrong time. Sleep eludes me and I lay awake running all scenarios through my mind. What will I say, or will she admit? The clock seems to mock me when I look at it and it's barely past 1. Eventually giving up on sleep, I get up and made coffee. Sitting at the kitchen counter I start researching her. Her father moved to London when she was a teenager. Her mother passed away, and he wanted to give his daughter a better life. He builds his empire on property. He bought empty lots and then build on it, and then resells or rent it out. Within 10 years, he was a force to be reckoned with. The media describes him as a gentle soul and his love for his daughter is unmatched. I rub my eyes, trying to understand how she can be associated with terrorism. The sun peeked over the horizon and I showered and got ready for the day. I look at the package in my hand again and then the time. 12 minutes past 1. I push the glass doors open and the receptionist look up as I approached. She smiles as she recognizes me. Lex, Ian is waiting for you in his office. You can go up. The elevator ride was a nightmare. It felt like a bad dream I can't wake up from. Soon I will meet her and I might get answers. Scene 3. The confrontation. I stepped out of the elevator, heart thudding in my chest. The metallic smell of the office, the faint hum of fluorescent lights, mundane. But nothing about today felt ordinary. My steps were heavy-leaden. I knocked softly. Ian? I called. Come in, his voice echoed. I entered. Ian was standing by the window, his back to me, silhouetted against the city lights. He turned as I sat on the leather couch, offering the brown packet. He took it. The silence was a live wire. Then the knock. The door opened. Lizine Gregorian stepped in, eyes widening when she saw me. Surprise flickered across her face, then smoothed into practiced neutrality. Alejandría. I didn't expect to see you here, she said. Her voice was steady, but I caught the tremor beneath. She glanced at Ian, then back at me. What is this, Ian? Lizine asked, motioning to the packet. Ian gestured for her to sit. I held my breath, heart hammering. Slowly, I took out my phone, displaying the surveillance report, the image of Lizine at the scene that had changed her life forever. Color drained from Lizine's face. Her hands trembled as she handed the phone back, but her emerald gray eyes never left me. I knew this day would come, she said. Standing, wrapping her arms around herself as if armor, she continued, voice soft but resolute. My father immigrated here hoping to escape the past, to build something better after my mother died. But the past never stays buried. The men who found him, they came for him. They came for all of us. Ian's breath caught audibly. My fingers tightened around the edge of the couch. Tears spilled unbidden down Lizine's cheeks, small, almost invisible, but enough to ignite a strange, unwelcome ache in my chest. So, my parents, my family, my voice was trembling raw. It was because of your family? Lizine lifted her gaze. The storm behind her eyes mirrored my own. Not because we wanted it, Lizine said, almost whispering. Because we were all caught in someone else's war. My fists clenched, jaw tight. Rage, grief, and something else, something dangerous and forbidden, twisted through her. I didn't know whether to hate Lizine, forgive her, or let myself be pulled into the orbit of this stranger who somehow mirrored my own loss. Ian leaned forward, tension etched in every line of his face. Lex, I'll set up a proper meeting. But right now, his eyes flicked between them. Let her speak. I exhaled slowly, letting the fury and confusion settle just enough to hear. Luzine's confession wasn't comfort. It wasn't absolution. It was a spark, one that threatened to ignite everything I had spent 20 years building: control, focus, and distance. And in that moment, I realized I wasn't just chasing answers about the past anymore. I was staring down the beginnings of something far more dangerous, an attraction I didn't want, couldn't trust, but couldn't ignore. Scene 4. Shadows of the Past. I drove through London's slick streets, the rain streaking across the windshield like the tears I refused to shed. The report burned in my mind. Lizine Gregorian, a person of interest, a witness, maybe more. And now, a key to the mystery of my parents' death. My fingers drummed on the steering wheel, restless. 20 years in MI6 had taught me one thing: never let emotions dictate your next move. Yet grief and anger gnawed at me logic, and Lizine's stormy green-gray eyes haunted every quiet corner of my mind. I parked near Lizine's father's office building under the guise of a casual visit. My eyes scanned the area, noting security cameras, guards, even the slight hum of electronics hidden in plain sight. Nothing was overlooked, not tonight. The lobby was luxurious, but understated, a perfect fortress disguised as a family business. My hand hovered near my concealed sidearm as I greeted the receptionist. "I'm here to see Lizine Gregorian. Ian Alverez sent me." The receptionist nodded, eyes flicking briefly to a surveillance monitor. "She's expecting you." Elevator doors slid shut. My reflection stared back at me, tenacity etched in every line of my face, but a shadow of vulnerability flickered in my eyes. Tonight, there was no hiding from the past. The elevator door opens. Lizine waited near the corner office, leaning lightly against the window. Her expression was neutral, but the tension in her shoulders betrayed her awareness of me. For a heartbeat, neither spoke. "You came," Lizine said, voice quiet but firm. "I need answers," I replied, keeping my tone measured. "And I need the truth about my parents." Lizine's lips pressed into a thin line. "You're ready for the truth?" "Some truths, they destroy more than the people who tell them." My jaw clenched. Destroy me if it means I finally get closure. We stepped into the office and Lizine motioned toward the city below. "It was my father's enemies," she began, gaze distant. "They came for him, and for anyone tied to him. That night, your parents weren't collateral. They were a message." My fists tightened. My mother and father, gone because of greed and violence masquerading as power. Anger coiled in my stomach, but a strange pang, confusion, curiosity, and something unnameable cut through it. "I saw you at the wedding," I said, carefully. "Did you mean to? To be seen?" Lizine interrupted softly. "No. I didn't know your family's connection at the time." She stopped, eyes flickering with hesitation. "I wasn't responsible. But I can help you if you let me." My heart hammered. Help. Alliance. Trust. Dangerous words when layered over betrayal, grief, and that pull I refused to acknowledge. "You're not off the hook," I warned. "One misstep, one hidden truth, and I walk. Or worse." Lizine smiled faintly, a dangerous, knowing smile that made my chest tighten. "I wouldn't have it any other way. But know this, Alejandría, the past isn't finished with either of us. And neither am I." I left the building with more questions than answers. But one thing was clear: Lizine was no ordinary witness. And my instincts, the ones I had honed over decades of fieldwork, told me that this encounter was only the beginning of something that could burn everything I had built, including myself. Scene 5. Collision Course. I moved through the shadows, every sense alive. The intel I'd received this morning wasn't just a lead, it was a trap. Someone wanted to see if I was predictable. Someone wanted to test me. And I wasn't about to fail. The alley behind the property development site was quiet, too quiet. A thin mist curled along the pavement, the wet cobblestones reflecting the orange streetlights. My hand hovered near my sidearm, my mind running scenarios at lightning speed. And then, a figure stepped out. Lizine. Her auburn hair glistened under the streetlight, wet from the drizzle, her midnight blue coat clinging to her form. I froze, breath catching, not from fear, but from the impossible pull that hadn't eased since the wedding. "You shouldn't be here," I said, voice low, steady. I could say the same to you, Lizine replied, emerald gray eyes sharp, but there was something else there, a flicker of something forbidden, something unspoken. I scanned the alley, noting movement. 2 men at the far end, armed, watching. It was no longer a private confrontation. Espionage, danger, and desire were all tangled together, coiling around us like a live wire. We don't have much time, Lizine said, her voice urgent. They know I'm here, and now they know you'll follow. We move together, or we die apart. My instinct screamed, trust no one. But another part, my gut, the part that had kept me alive in countless impossible missions, knew I had no choice. Fine, I said. But one wrong move, and it's over. Understand? Lizzie nodded, lips pressing into a thin line. Understood. We moved together through the misty alley, silent, synchronized, shadows blending with shadows. My mind raced, questions, grief, the forbidden attraction I couldn't name, but I forced myself to focus. Every corner, every sound, every flicker of movement mattered. A hand reached for my shoulder. Reflexively, I spun, elbow catching the assailant square in the jaw. Lizine was already moving, knocking another man off balance with a calculated sweep. We worked in tandem, an unspoken rhythm forged in necessity, danger threading every brush of skin, every shared glance. The fight ended as quickly as it began, the attackers retreating into the fog. My chest heaved, adrenaline coursing. I turned to Lizine, eyes locking with hers. Next time, Lizine said, voice soft but charged, we can't be so lucky. I swallowed, heart hammering. Next time, you might not survive if I'm not there. For a heartbeat, the world shrank to just us, 2 women bound by danger, grief, and a spark neither wanted but couldn't deny. And then the city called us back, the mist curling around our feet, reality returning. But I knew one thing, the collision course we were on was far from over. Scene 6. Fragile Alliances. I sat in the safe house, the city below muted by glass and steel. The adrenaline from last night still coursed through my veins, but the questions pressed heavier than ever. Lizine had survived, but who were we really running from? And why had fate dropped her into my path in the most dangerous, forbidden way possible? A soft knock at the door jolted me. Hand instinctively near my sidearm, I opened it to find Lizine standing there, coat still damp, eyes wary but unguarded in a way that made my pulse betray my calm. We need to talk, Lizine said. Voice steady but laced with something I couldn't name, an emotion forbidden, dangerous, magnetic. About last night? Or the truth you're hiding? I replied, stepping aside. Both, Lizine said, her eyes searching mine. I didn't mean to pull you into this. But your parents, my father, it's all tangled together. And now, it's coming for me too. My chest tightened. Grief and anger, old, raw, jagged, rose like wildfire. You knew something. You saw it. Why didn't you tell me sooner? Lizine's gaze flickered downward, and I felt the pull, the forbidden, sharp tension in the space between us. Because I couldn't. I wasn't allowed to. And because I was afraid of what you'd do if you knew the full truth. My hands clenched. Afraid? Afraid of me? Yes, Lizine admitted, finally meeting my eyes. Afraid that your need for revenge would consume you before you saw that some of us were trapped too. I exhaled slowly. I knew danger was all around us, but the fire in Lizine's voice ignited something I hadn't felt in years, the dangerous pull of trust, of reliance, of desire I wasn't supposed to indulge. We went over the intel, maps, and files spread across the table. Each piece of information revealed more. Shadowy figures connected to Lizine's father, hints of terror networks, and the faint trail linking back to the explosion that killed my parents. Every revelation carved deeper into my grief, but it also sharpened my focus. We worked together, I said finally, voice firm. One mistake, one lie, and it's over. Understood. Lizine's smile was faint, but it carried promise and challenge. Understood. But Lex, if we're going to survive this, we'll need more than just trust. My heart skipped, mind sharp. I didn't know if I could handle the dangerous magnetism between us, but one thing was certain. The past wasn't done, the danger wasn't done, and neither were the sparks between us. Scene 7. Fire in the Shadows. I crouched on the rooftop, rain slicking my black tactical gear. Below, the abandoned warehouse throbbed with the distant murmur of guards, shadows shifting under flickering lights. The intel Lizine had brought us was solid, but it was also bait. Someone wanted us there, and my gut screamed it. A whisper of movement beside me made me tense. Lizine. Drenched, hair clinging to her face, but sharp-eyed and focused. For a moment, my world narrowed to the curve of her jaw, the dangerous light in her emerald gray eyes. I shoved the thought aside. Lives, mine, Lizine's, the innocent, depended on focus. You ready? Lizine asked, voice low, clipped. I nodded. Always. You. I don't have a choice, Lizine said, almost bitterly, and I caught the flicker of vulnerability I had glimpsed before. Together, we moved like shadows, descending into the warehouse perimeter with silent precision. I noted the security cameras, the laser grids, and the guards' patrol patterns. Every step calculated, every breath measured. Inside, crates marked with obscure logos hid more than merchandise. They were fronts for a smuggling operation tied directly to the network responsible for the explosion that had killed my parents. Lizine led the way, guiding me through the maze. Our hands brushed several times, each touch sending an unspoken jolt through my body. I cursed myself inwardly. This was no time for desire. A sudden click, a laser beam tripped. Alarms screamed. Guards poured in. Move. I barked, instincts kicking in. Lizine responded immediately, pulling me behind a stack of crates as bullets ricocheted around us. We fought as one, me incapacitating 2 guards silently, Lizine using her agility and intellect to disable electronic security. Every glance, every maneuver was a dangerous dance of trust and tension, the line between professional and personal blurring with every heartbeat. Finally, cornered near the exit, I pinned Lizine behind my back. Stay close, I warned. Lizine's body pressed to mine, breath mingling, eyes locking for a fraction too long. The forbidden attraction crackled between us, hotter than any danger we faced. We made it out breathless, soaked, hearts hammering, not just from the escape, but from the storm raging between us. Outside, safe for the moment, Lizine dared a small smirk. You're not as cold as I thought, Alejandría. My jaw tightened. Don't push it, I said, though my pulse betrayed me. We survive this, then we deal with whatever this is. Lizine's gaze softened, just enough. Whatever this is, it isn't going away. You should know that. I exhaled, knowing I was already too far gone. Grief, revenge, danger, and desire were entangling me more tightly than any mission protocol ever had. And deep down, I understood, the next confrontation would cost more than just our professional boundaries. Scene 8, Secrets and Shadows. I leaned against the brick wall of the alley, rain soaking through my coat, heart pounding, not just from exertion, but from what Lizine had just revealed. They're coming for him, and for me, Lizine whispered, her voice trembling. Emerald gray eyes, once so fierce, now glimmered with fear and something painfully raw. My mind raced. Explain, I demanded. Lizine swallowed, hands clenching. My father, he didn't just move here for a better life. He was part of something. Something connected to your parents. Your parents, knew too much. The explosion, it wasn't random. And now, those same people are resurfacing. Grief exploded inside me, raw and jagged. 30 years of questions of searching for answers collided with the impossible. The woman standing before me held pieces of my past, and my fury was unbearable. Your family, my voice cracked. Do you have any idea what this means to me? I do, Lizine said, stepping closer, careful, deliberate. Our bodies almost touched, electricity sparking between us. Which is why I didn't tell you sooner. I didn't want to. You didn't want me to hate you, I finished, bitter and trembling. My hand lifted, almost involuntarily, to brush a wet strand of hair from Lizine's face. The warmth of her touch, forbidden and reckless, made my pulse spike. Lizine's breath caught. I don't want to lose you, Alejandría. But you have to understand, everything I've done, it's to keep you alive. My chest heaved. Trust was fragile, hanging by a thread, yet desire pressed forward with a gravity I couldn't resist. Then prove it, I whispered. Prove to me that your secrets aren't just lies. Prove that we can survive this together. Before Lizine could answer, movement at the end of the alley made us both spin. A shadowy figure emerged, armed, trained, cold. The fight was immediate, brutal. Lizine and I moved as one. Guns, fists, and instinct combined in a dangerous, fluid choreography. Every brush of skin, every shared glance heightened the tension that had been simmering between us since the wedding. The attacker fell, incapacitated, and rain-slicked cobblestones reflected their stormy faces. My hands trembled, adrenaline still coursing. Lizine stepped close, daring, lips almost brushing my ear. "You can't keep running from this," she murmured. I swallowed, heartbeat racing, mind screaming both warning and temptation. "No, no, we face it," I said, voice fierce. "Together." For a moment, the city fell away, the danger, the grief, the forbidden attraction. Our world shrank to just us, and I knew with deadly certainty, the next step would change everything. Scene 9. Betrayal in the Shadows. I crouched behind a stack of crates, muscles coiled, every nerve screaming danger. Lizine's voice whispered beside me, calm but tense. "I think someone's feeding us false intel," Lizine said, eyes scanning the shadows. "They want us to make a mistake." My jaw tightened. And that someone is close. Too close. Our mission had started as a controlled operation, a chance to trace the shadow network linked to my parents' deaths. But now, every step we took seemed manipulated, every path leading us into tighter traps. And I knew, the closer I got to Lizine, the more dangerous this became. Suddenly, movement on the rooftop above, figures moving with precision, almost too familiar. My heart dropped. One of them was Ian. "Lex." "Ian?" Lizine's voice trembled, mirroring my disbelief. I didn't answer immediately. The betrayal hit like a knife. My brother, who had been my anchor since our parents died, was now on the other side of a deadly game. I saw it in his eyes, calm, calculating, a flash of something I hadn't expected, a mission beyond my knowledge. "Why?" I hissed under her breath. "Why would you?" "I'm keeping you safe," Ian's voice came, steady but unreadable. "Every move I make, it's for you. Trust me." My pulse raced, torn between rage, disbelief, and the raw grief of seeing family and trust collide with danger. "Safe?" I spat. "You put me in the line of fire." Lizine stepped forward, hands raised slightly. "Alejandría, we don't have time for this. We need to focus. Now." My eyes met Lizine's, the emerald gray fire grounding me, reminding me of the trust we'd built, fragile and dangerous. The forbidden attraction I had fought, the pull I had resisted, now surged stronger, urging me to choose, trust Lizine and act, or let the betrayal consume me. Gunfire erupted, breaking the tension into action. Lizine and I moved together, fluid, synchronized, instinct taking over. Bullets flew past as shadows danced against the concrete walls. My anger and grief channeled into lethal precision. I couldn't let my emotions cost us both. Lizine's presence beside me was both a tether and a temptation I could not deny, each glance, each brush of hands sparking electricity that made my focus sharper and more dangerous. Finally, as the rooftop cleared, the truth became undeniable. Ian had been manipulated, coerced into siding with forces that I had long hunted. But the real shock came from Lizine's revelation. The network targeting her family and my parents was far larger than anyone had imagined, extending into corridors of power I had never dared to breach. Breathless, soaked, and trembling, I stared at Lizine, voice low and raw. "We survived this, together. But no more secrets. No more lies." Lizine's eyes softened, yet glimmered with warning. "I can't promise there won't be danger or desire." I swallowed hard, knowing the storm was far from over. Betrayal had struck at the core, but now the stakes, personal, professional, and forbidden, had reached a fever pitch. And I realized, the answers I had been chasing were intertwined with the woman standing beside me. Scene 10. Fire and Revelation. My boots hit the slick concrete with lethal purpose. The abandoned facility sprawled before me, labyrinthine and dangerous, each shadow a potential threat. Lizine moved at my side, calm, poised, but I felt the tension radiating off her. "This is it," Lizine whispered. "We get answers or we die trying." My jaw tightened. 30 years of grief, anger, and unanswered questions boiled over. My parents' deaths, the explosion, the lies, the betrayals, it all came to this moment. And standing beside me was Lizine, impossibly beautiful, impossible to ignore, a storm of desire and trust that I had spent years denying. We slipped inside, silent as shadows. Guards scattered, unaware of the precision that Lizine and I possessed. Every movement was calculated, every breath measured. Then an office at the center. I kicked the door open. Inside, monitors flickered, documents strewn across a table. Names, dates, connections, all pieces of a puzzle I had chased for decades. And there, sitting in the chair, was the orchestrator, a man whose face was familiar in fleeting nightmares of surveillance photos. "You finally found me," he sneered, voice smooth and cold. "But you're too late." My fists tightened. "You're wrong. I'm never too late." The fight was explosive, brutal. Lizine moved like liquid fire beside me, hands and mind synchronized with mine. Blows landed, bodies collided. Every second was a mix of danger and intimate proximity that made my heart pound in ways that had nothing to do with adrenaline. Finally, the man faltered. Documents and data were secured, exposing the network responsible for the explosion and revealing a truth I hadn't dared imagine. The figure lurking in the shadows the night my parents died had been connected to Lizine's family, but not by choice, by coercion, manipulation, impossible circumstances. Lizine's family had been pawns, and the woman she had come to trust and desire had risked everything to help me survive. I exhaled, chest heaving, and turned to Lizine. "All of this, all of it," I said, voice low, trembling. "It was never what I thought." Lizine stepped closer, hands brushing my damp hair from my face. "I told you. I'm here. For you. Always." My resolve cracked. Grief, anger, relief, and desire collided in an impossible, electrifying tension. I pressed forward, forehead touching Lizine's. "I shouldn't want this. Shouldn't feel this." Lizine's lips curved in a small, knowing smirk. "Neither should I," she whispered. "But some things can't be denied." For a heartbeat, the world narrowed to the storm raging inside us. The danger, the grief, the attraction. Outside, the storm raged, but inside, I allowed myself to feel, to connect, to trust, to want. And then, a final alert, reinforcements coming. Reality snapped back. I grabbed Lizine's hand. "We finish this. Together. Then we decide what comes next." Lizine's eyes met mine, unwavering. Together. We disappeared into the shadows, a storm of fury, desire, and unrelenting purpose. 2 women, 1 mission, countless truths finally unveiled, and a connection neither could deny. Scene 11, Echoes and Embers. I leaned against the balcony railing of my apartment, the London skyline washed in pale dawn light. The adrenaline of the rooftop battle and the facility had faded, leaving my muscles sore and my mind racing. But beneath it all, an unfamiliar warmth lingered. Lizine. A soft knock at the door jolted me from my thoughts. "Come in," I called. Lizine stepped in, slightly damp from the drizzle, hair clinging to her face. She closed the door behind her and let out a shaky breath. "I had to see you," she said, voice low, almost intimate. My pulse quickened. "Why? You're not exactly supposed to be here." "I mean, we have things to sort." "I know," Lizine said, stepping closer. "But I couldn't leave without this." Her hand brushed against mine, tentative, electricity sparking the moment it made contact. I swallowed, feeling that pull, the forbidden attraction I had fought, denied, and ignored, now pressing against my resolve. "Lizine, after everything us, it's complicated." Lizine tilted her head, her eyes searching mine. "Life is complicated, Alejandría. But some things are worth the risk." A silence fell over us, heavy with unsaid words and shared grief. I finally spoke, voice barely above a whisper. "My parents, knowing what's happened, knowing who was involved, it changes everything. I've spent years chasing vengeance, answers, and now, I don't know if I can let myself feel. Luzine offered softly. Let yourself trust? Let yourself want. My eyes found hers. Exactly. The pull between us was undeniable. Our fingers intertwined, hesitant at first, then firmer. I let herself lean into Luzine, allowing the warmth, the closeness, and the forbidden desire to fill the emptiness I had carried for decades. Outside, the city moved on, indifferent to the storm of grief and desire contained in my apartment. Inside, time slowed, the world reduced to the two of us, hearts beating, breaths mingling, unspoken promises lingering in the space between us. Finally, I broke the silence, voice trembling but resolute. We'll face the danger together, and whatever comes next, we do it side by side. No more secrets. Luzine smiled, that same dangerous, intoxicating smile that had haunted me since the wedding. Side by side, she echoed. And for the first time in 30 years, I felt something I hadn't allowed myself to feel: hope. Grief still lingered, danger still loomed, but for the first time, I wasn't facing it alone. And desire, hot, forbidden, unstoppable, burned brighter than fear. Scene 12, Escalation. Luzine and I moved through the back alleys of London, shadows clinging to us like old friends. Intelligence gathered from the exposed network hinted at a deeper threat. Someone was cleaning up loose ends, and I knew they weren't just after me. They were after everyone I cared about. This is bigger than we thought, Luzine muttered, scanning the rooftops. They're erasing anyone connected to the investigation. I clenched my fists. Then we make sure they have no one left to erase. Tonight, we draw them out. Tension crackled in the air. Every alley could hide a sniper, every window a threat. The forbidden attraction between us simmered just beneath the surface, each brush of hands, each shared glance loaded with unspoken desire. I hated how vulnerable it made me, yet I couldn't resist it. Suddenly, a gunshot rang out. Luzine grabbed my arm, pulling me down just as a bullet shattered the pavement where we had been standing. I hissed, adrenaline surging. Too close. They're watching our every move. Luzine's lips brushed my temple as she whispered, "Stay close. Trust me." And for the first time, I let herself. We disappeared into the night, a calculated storm of fury, skill, and growing passion. Scene 13, Ultimate Confrontation. The target, an abandoned warehouse on the outskirts of the city. I had traced the network's leader here, and every instinct screamed danger. Luzine flanked mine, hands ready, hearts racing. The doors burst open, and chaos erupted, henchmen armed, traps set, everything designed to break them. But my years in MI6, Luzine's precision, and our synergy made us unstoppable. Amid the gunfire and flashing lights, I confronted the true mastermind, a figure who had orchestrated the explosion that killed my parents and tried to manipulate Luzine's family. "You should have stayed in the shadows," I growled, striking with deadly precision. The battle was brutal, close, and intimate, my rage and grief driving every move, Luzine's presence grounding me. Between strikes, our eyes met, and I saw the reflection of my own pain mirrored in Luzine's. Finally, with the mastermind incapacitated, I retrieved the final files. Evidence exposing the network, clearing Luzine's family, and finally revealing the truth about my parents' deaths. Breathless, shaken, I looked at Luzine. "It's over, isn't it?" Luzine smiled, dangerous and tender. "It's never truly over. But tonight, we win." Scene 14, Resolution and Choices. Luzine and I returned to my apartment, soaked but alive. The adrenaline faded, leaving only the quiet, charged tension between us. I exhaled, fingers brushing Luzine's. "So, what now?" Luzine tilted her head, eyes sparkling. "We decide. We survive. We trust. And maybe we allow ourselves to feel." My lips curved into a slow smile. "I've spent 30 years running from grief, danger, and maybe love. I don't want to run anymore." We held each other, tentative but certain, grief still lingering for lost family, danger still in the periphery, but the forbidden attraction, now tempered by trust, burned brighter than ever. Outside, London awoke. Inside, Two hearts beat in synchrony, a storm of emotion finally finding calm, ready to face whatever the world would throw at us together. Scene 15. Intimacy and vulnerability. I sank onto the couch, exhaustion heavy in my bones. Lizzie knelt beside me, brushing a strand of damp auburn hair from my face. Our eyes locked, storm and calm, fire and water. "You saved me," I murmured, voice rough from adrenaline and emotion. Lizzie shook her head, a soft smile curving her lips. "We saved each other." Slowly, deliberately, Lizzie leaned in, lips brushing mine. Tentative at first, testing, teasing, then deepening as I responded, hands finding my way into Lizzie's hair, holding, feeling, grounding. The world outside faded, the city, the danger, the grief. We existed only for each other in this moment. Every touch, every sigh, every heartbeat spoke of trust and desire long denied. I whispered against her lips, "I never thought I could feel this, safe, wanted." "You are," Lizzie breathed back. "You've always been, and now you're mine to protect." We moved together, slow and intentional, letting grief, fear, and passion intermingle. Each kiss, each caress, a promise that neither would face the world alone again. Hours passed unnoticed, until dawn light spilled across the room. I rested against Lizzie, finally at peace, finally allowing myself to surrender, to grief, to desire, and to love. Epilogue. Dawn of tomorrow. I stood on the balcony, sunlight washing over London. Lizzie leaned into my side, warm and real. The city below moved, indifferent to our battles, our love, our losses. I exhaled, finally free of the weight I had carried for decades. We faced death, betrayal, grief. And yet, we survived. Lizzie kissed my temple. "And now we choose. Together." I turned, eyes meeting mine, emerald and gray, fire and calm. "Then let's choose life, love, and each other." The storm had passed, leaving only embers, trust, and passion. We stood together, not just as survivors, not just as warriors, but as two women daring to feel, to hope, and to love in a world that had tested every limit of our hearts. And for the first time in 30 years, I smiled, truly, unreservedly, knowing that some storms, when weathered together, could give birth to something stronger than either had ever imagined. I sank into the couch, tension coiled in my shoulders, every muscle tight from weeks of danger, grief, and unresolved questions. London's night stretched quietly outside my apartment window, rain cascading against the glass in gentle percussion, a distant city hum vibrating through the walls. I hadn't realized how much I'd been holding in until Lizzie knelt in front of me, fingers brushing a stray lock of hair behind her ear, my touch delicate but insistent. Our eyes met, emerald gray and dark brown, and a slow, unspoken understanding passed between them. Desire, grief, danger, curiosity. Every emotion stacked on top of the other, and my breath hitched. "You're reckless," Lizzie whispered, voice low, almost teasing, though the tremor betrayed her own tension. "I like it," I murmured, voice rough, shaking slightly, betraying both fatigue and something deeper, unnameable. My fingers twitched, almost involuntarily, and then reached, pulling Lizzie closer. The contact made us shiver, heat radiated from the simple touch. The first kiss was hesitant, exploratory, soft. Lips brushed against lips, tentative at first, tasting, testing. And then it deepened. Hunger threaded through every movement, slow, deliberate, consuming. My hands traced the curves of Lizzie's shoulders, down her back, anchoring them together. Lizzie's fingers danced along my spine, pulling me impossibly close, a silent promise written in touch. I tilted my head, lips brushing Lizzie's jaw, throat, shoulder. Each kiss, each whisper of breath sent electric sparks across our skin. Lizzie shivered against me, a quiet, intoxicating sound that made me falter, almost lose myself in the moment. "Lex," Lizzie murmured, voice trembling, "we shouldn't." "We can't stop," I countered, pressing closer, letting every restraint fall away. Every heartbeat was a declaration. Every touch, a vow. We leaned into each other fully now, bodies pressing, heat building. My hands tangled in Lizzie's auburn hair, pulling her into a deeper, more consuming kiss. The quiet of the apartment amplified every sound: the soft gasp, the rustle of clothes against skin, the faint crackle of the fire. I rested my forehead against Lizine's, breath mingling, heartbeats sinking. "I've wanted this. I've wanted you," I whispered, voice hoarse, trembling. Lizine's reply was slow, deliberate, a silk-and-fire promise. "Good. Then never stop wanting." We lingered in the hush between words, letting the tension coil and release in a languid rhythm. Hands traced, lips found new paths, whispers became sighs, and every inch of hesitation fell away. The storm of our lives, grief, betrayal, danger, ghosts of the past, faded. Outside, the rain drummed a quiet rhythm. Inside, heat and longing consumed us. My hands moved lower, brushing along Lizine's back, memorizing the curves and lines of her body. Lizine's hands mirrored the exploration, trailing along my arms, her fingertips ghosting along nerves that shot electric sparks into my core. Every sigh, every shiver, every heartbeat became a pulse of connection, the kind of connection that had no room for interruption. I whispered, lips brushing Lizine's ear, "I can't. I won't." "Shh," Lizine whispered back, pressing a finger to my lips, then letting her mouth follow, trailing slow, sensual kisses down my neck. I know. Time seemed to dilate. We existed in this room alone, the city fading, the world shrinking, until only the fire between them remained. Our breaths mingled, hearts thrummed, and every lingering touch became a silent conversation. Pain, longing, grief, all of it melted into desire. I let herself fall into Lizine completely, body and mind, heart exposed, but steady under Lizine's warmth. Lizine's lips found mine again, slower now, tasting, savoring, claiming. Every movement, deliberate yet tender, every whisper, a promise we didn't dare speak aloud. We shifted together, limbs entwining, bodies seeking rhythm and connection. My fingers threaded through Lizine's hair again, holding, guiding, yearning. Lizine's hands explored the strong lines of my arms and shoulders, memorizing strength and vulnerability simultaneously. I gasped softly against Lizine's lips, a low, trembling sound that held all Newark unspoken fears and desires. Lizine answered with a slow, deliberate pressure, her hands anchoring me, drawing me closer, a quiet declaration that this was ours, even if only for tonight. The fire of the room, the patter of rain, the faint hum of London streets, everything became a backdrop to their intimacy. Every kiss, every sigh, every tremor of touch was a story. A confession. A promise. I rested her forehead on Lizine's shoulder, eyes closed, savoring the warmth, the scent, the weight of her presence. "I don't want this to end," I whispered, voice trembling with vulnerability I hadn't allowed myself before. "It doesn't have to," Lizine murmured back, lips brushing my temple. "As long as we want it, as long as we survive it, it won't end." For hours, or maybe minutes, time no longer mattered. We stayed there, wrapped around each other. Every sigh, every heartbeat, every breath carried with it the weight of what we had endured, the tension of what we couldn't say aloud, and the fire of what we couldn't resist. Eventually, the rain softened, the fire crackled low, the city outside began to stir with the faintest hum of dawn. Lizine and I remained entangled, bodies pressed, hearts beating, a quiet, shared understanding forming between us. Some desires were worth every risk. Some fire was worth every burn. Thank you so much for listening. Please subscribe and like this video and follow me for more stories. You are always welcome here, and leave me a comment or a thumbs up, just letting me know if you like the story and would like more, or is there perhaps an idea that you would like to share or let me write for you.